In this video, I'll go over the warm-up for lesson 1-3. And so, number one, we are going to solve this equation and give the justification. So it says 2/5 times W. And so instead of dividing by 2/5, which you can do, but it's a little bit more complicated, it would be easier to multiply by the reciprocal. So I'm going to multiply by 5/2, and so I'm going to do that on both sides. So since I'm multiplying on both sides by something, I'm going to say that's a multiplication property of equality. Now on the left, I have 5 times 2, which is 10, over 2 times 5, which is 10, and that's why everything cancels out. So I'm just have W equals, over on the right, I've got 12 times 5 is 60, and 1 times 2 is 2, and 60 divided by 2 is 30. And so that's my answer, writing that in set notation, W such that W is equal to 30. And that's my solution. Remember that you can always plug in to see if it works. So when you plug in to see if your solution's working, it's fine if you want to use a calculator to do it quickly. 2 times 30 is 60. 60 divided by 5 is 12. That's what it's supposed to be, so that's correct. Okay, number 2. This is the strategy where if you've got a lot of things going on, you want to put your finger over the variable and see what you need to get rid of first. So I see the -6 hanging out there, so I'm going to add 6, like that. So since I'm adding to both sides, it's the addition property of equality. And so what I have left is I have k divided by 2 equals, and negative, don't forget to watch your sign, you guys, that's something that is really, really important. -10 plus 6 is -4. Okay, the next thing, it says k divided by 2, so the opposite of that is to multiply by 2 and multiply by 2. So I'm going to have k is equal to a multiplication property of equality, because that's what I did. -4 times 2 is -8. So in set notation, k such that k is equal to -8. Okay, number 3, put your finger over the variable. What are you going to do? You're going to subtract the 3 because that's what's hanging out there. So I'm subtracting from both sides. So what do I have left? I have -7y equals 1 take away 3 is -2. Okay, the next step, it says -7 times y. We are not going to add 7. We're going to divide by -7 because that's the opposite of multiply. And so I'm going to divide by -7. The thing that people get messed up here is they think, well, it's not really going to come out pretty for 2 divided by 7. I would rather do add 7 because then I get a nice pretty answer. It doesn't work like that. You have to do what you have to do, even if it's not pretty. And so -2 divided by -7, and negative divided by negative is positive, and 2 divided by 7 is 2 sevenths. That's all. You don't have to do anything else. I do not want a decimal, so don't put it in your calculator and give me a decimal. That's not an appropriate answer here. And then we're going to write that in set notation, y such that y is equal to 2/7. And that's it. Okay, number 4, again, put your finger over the variable. What are you going to do first? You're going to add 15. So -7 plus 15 is 8. What am I left with here? I'm left with my x over 4. And the -15 plus 15 is gone. I added to both sides, so addition property of equality. Okay, next step, it says x divided by 4, so the opposite of that is to multiply by 4. So 4 times 8 is 32. And I'm left with x. And I multiplied both sides by the same thing, so it's multiplication property of equality. So x such that x is equal to 32. Okay, number 5. This is a literal equation. You have more than one variable and you're solving for one of those variables, so z. So put your finger over that. What are you going to get rid of? The 3. So I'm going to subtract 3. So I'm going to have z, because this is gone, equals n minus 3. And that's all. You're done. You don't have to do anything else. You don't know what n is, so you can't take 3 away from it. And that's all you have to do. You don't have to write this one in set notation. Okay, number 6. This is the area of a triangle, and so I can guarantee that you're going to see this problem again. So you want to make sure you know what to do here. You're trying to solve for h. So it says 1/2 times b times h. So the opposite of all of that is to divide. So I can divide by 1/2, but we've talked before about we don't really want to divide by a fraction. That's just messy. And so I can multiply by 2/1. And so 1/2 times 2/1, that cancels. Multiply over here by 2, so I have 2a is equal to bh. Now I'm trying to get h by itself, so it says b times h. So I'm going to divide by b. So 2a divided by b is equal to h, and that's my answer. So like I said, I promise you're going to see that again, so make sure you know how to deal with that equation. Number 7, solve for f. So again, put your finger over the f. What's hanging out there? The 6m is hanging out there. You're going to have to get rid of that. So it's 6m. It is a positive 6m, so I'm going to subtract 6m. This minus sign does not go with the 6m, so don't be distracted by that. Okay, so I'm going to subtract 6m on both sides. So I'm going to have negative f equals negative d minus 6m. Okay, now I'm not done because I didn't want to solve for negative f. I want to solve for f. So this is a negative 1 times f. So I can divide by negative 1. That's one option. So you'd have f equals negative d minus 6m over negative 1. And on this one, because negative will cancel with all of them, you could actually say d plus 6m over positive 1, which you could just write that. Another thing you could do, negative 1 is kind of cool because you can do a couple different things. So another thing you could do is you could say, well, if I multiplied by negative 1, negative 1 times negative 1 is positive 1, so I just have f. You multiply this whole other side by negative 1, so you distribute. So you're going to have d plus 6m. And then that's the answer. Okay, and the last question on the warm-up is number 8. Solve for p. So I'm going to put my finger over the p. And what do you get rid of first? That minus 6. So I'm going to add 6. So b plus 6 equals, and then on the other side I just have the 3/4 p left because that's gone. And so I want the p to be by itself. So it says 3/4 times p. So I could divide by 3/4 or multiply by 4/3. So 3 times 4 over 4 times 3, that's going to all be gone, and I'm left with p. On the other side, now this is really important, you can't just do times 4/3 like that. It's 4/3 times the entire side, so you've got to have parentheses around that. So you're going to distribute 4/3 b plus, and then you're going to do 4/3 times 6. Okay, without your calculator, 4/3 times 6 over 1. 4 times 6 is 24. 3 times 1 is 3. 24 divided by 3 is 8. And that's your answer.